Yeah, I mean, we just stuck with it. It's a game of basketball. It's not always going to go your way. It's about how you respond. And this team has proven many of times that we know how to respond, and we just did so tonight. Nothing new.
Hey, Chet, after Shai gets that flagrant and goes to the bench, you guys really changed the tenor of the game. The group that was out there, you played almost the whole, or might have played the whole third quarter. Can you just talk us through that whole stretch and what you thought was key for you guys out there?
Yeah, just not letting the circumstances change how we play the game, just sticking to our stuff, playing together. I think we did a great job of that on both ends. We let our defense set the tone for our offense, and I think AJ and J-Mac were huge in those minutes, along with everybody else, but huge in those minutes, kind of captaining the ship for those minutes.
Shai, can you just talk about, from your perspective, what it was like watching those guys out there kind of turn the tide?
Yeah, it was amazing. They strung together stops. They're playing the right way offensively, and things are going their way. Full confidence in those guys. They know how to win basketball games, and we've proven that. They've proven that. No matter who's on the floor, know how to get the job done. And they just did it again tonight.
This is for both you guys. I mean, the physicality out there, obviously it's a playoff game and it's very physical. Throughout the years, we've seen you guys just sort of kind of grow into matching that physicality. Just tonight was one of those nights I just feel like you guys, did you feel like you matched the physicality and maybe you were even the aggressor at some point?
Absolutely. The way basketball works, usually the more physical team and the team that imposes their will more just wins. And that's probably why we won tonight, probably why we won last game. We did a good job, especially in the second half, of really playing our style of basketball, being physical, pressuring them, making things uncomfortable.
I think we did a great job being physical, but understanding when and where we can be physical. You can be reckless out there if the goal is just to be physical, but I feel like we did a good job of kind of directing it to where it needed to be.
Chet, you've talked about AJ as a guy who from day one had that level of poise. I don't know that he's been in a lot of situations like that where he has to play 10, 11 minutes without Shai on the floor, but what gives you confidence in him during that stretch?
Just knowing that that's who he is. I think he played 3 years his 3 years in college, he didn't play a single minute with Shai, so he knows how to run an offense. He knows how to make plays. We saw it tonight. We see it every time he steps out there, so we all got full confidence in him. The plays that he makes when he has the ball, we know something good is going to happen.
This is a little more niche, but when AC is like gambling on LeBron, it feels like that stuff is sort of informed by the time they play together. How much are you paying attention to that stuff? How often do you find yourself like marveling at those kind of details in this series from him specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't call it gambling. That's gambling is leaving something up to chance. He's out there reading the game and making plays based on what he's seeing, what he's feeling. And we see him make big plays. He made a bunch of big plays all night long on defense and on offense for us. He plays the game with an anticipation and kind of a gut feeling that you can't really teach, or like it's not something that comes down to teaching a rotation or something. He just goes and makes plays. That's what he does. But I wouldn't call it gambling because he's never reckless or out of control with that stuff. He's always calculated.
Shai, you mentioned that being aggressive is obviously necessary to win games, but do you enjoy the physicality of a game like that as opposed to just needing to do it? Is it something you guys enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes the game more fun. Like, certain things get let go that usually don't. And it's just basketball at the end of the day. So yeah, it's just like, this time of year is just purest form of the sport and of the game, and I definitely
Not only that, I just thought LA's physicality in the first half, I thought they were the aggressor, especially their offense against our defense. And so we had to kind of endure their punch in the first half. They obviously took a lead in the third. Shai had four And so it's just kind of an unpredictable game, and like I said, after game one, no two games are alike. So we did a great job of just staying present, winning the next battle in front of us, and sticking together. We got contributions from everybody. It was great.
Mark, what did you see from AJ specifically in that stretch?
I mean, he was outstanding in the first half. Got his scoring going. Didn't make his threes, but made everything else pretty much in the first half. And great floor game. He gave us great tempo when Shai was getting denied, when Shai was off the floor, and just continued poise and confidence out of him in these big games.
And I have to ask because it felt like the second half sort of dissolved into these teams versus the crew. I don't know. I mean, I won't ask you about the quality of the officiating, but what role did you seem to feel like the officiating played by the end of the game?
I mean, my interactions with the officials are between me and them. I had plenty to say to them, but I'm going to keep it there. And I thought our team did a really good job of staying present and just focusing on the next controllable. And we just played it possession by possession.
Yeah, Mark, just talk about that group right after Shai goes to the bench and after the flagrant, just the way they were able to grab control of the game.
Yeah, it's just great confidence by the team and togetherness. We strung together stops, played with great pace off those stops. Guys stepped in and made confident plays up and down. It started with the group when Kaysen went in for him, the starting group plus Kaysen, and then every sub we rolled in there. Did the same thing and really built a nice lead. I probably would have gone back to him in the third. I was planning on doing that in my head, but we played so well. I just kept riding it. It got him fresh, allowed him to play the whole fourth. It was a great team win.
I feel like a lot of guys, young guys in Jared McCain's role would be a little timid. He comes out there and there's no fear in anything, not scared to make a mistake. Just talk about his mentality in those type of situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's ironclad, as we've talked about. He goes in there, stays in character, stays aggressive. He's going to shoot the next shot. He makes the right plays. He plays inside the team. He competes defensively. He has set good defensive possessions for us. And he was huge tonight. And you need that in a playoff series. There's a lot of basketball. And you're going to need everybody. We trust everybody. He was big again tonight.
Mark, to build on that sequence there, to have guys that are facing, the Lakers are kind of rolling. They seem like they're maybe trying to, inflict some damage with Shai on the bench. To have guys out there that maybe you don't expect to sort of turn the tide. Where do you sort of think this team gets that from?
Well, other people might not expect it, but I do. I've got the utmost confidence in our whole team. We've shown that during the year. We played much of the year without Dub. When Shai's off the floor and Dub's not playing, we have those stretches. We had the game against Denver in overtime when he was minute capped, him and Hart, and we basically had a bench crew go out there in overtime, win the 5 minutes against a really quality team. So we've tried to train that muscle, and we've got guys that are competitors. They see the challenges of the game as opportunities, and they attack them. So I give the guys a lot of credit. That was great fortitude there.
Seems like one of the things that Hart does so well is he's in the right spots at the right times, whether it's for a rebound, contesting a shot, finding a gap in the defense. And can you kind of just speak to how much of a strength that is for him and just his overall basketball IQ?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a really complete player at that position. There's really nothing he can't do. And I thought, that stretch in the third that everybody's referring to, I thought his defense in that stretch, just his presence out there. And then I thought Kaysen really got it going, defensively especially. He obviously had a good offensive night as well, but on the defensive end, he was amped up during that stretch, and that's really what turned the game for us, is we were stringing together stops. It was putting us out on the break. Those guys did a great job.
Coach, in terms of combinations of playing Chet and Isaiah, obviously those are the final piece of that defensive puzzle, but how important has the rim protection been all year, just being able to spark your transition and just being that final piece of what you guys try to do?
Yeah, I mean, they're not only great rim protectors, they're really versatile defenders that do a lot of things for us. When they're out there together, it's incredibly impactful. I'd throw Jay Will in there. He's about as disciplined, as intelligent, and as physical as there is. I mean, he's taken however many charges already in the series. He's in the middle of everything too, and those three guys, they just bring a great blend of all the things I just said. It's huge for our defense, and they were huge tonight.
Mark, what have you just made of Shai's series so far through 2 games? I know the foul trouble might have affected his rhythm tonight, but how the Lakers are defending him and how he's responding to that.
Well, how he's responding is how he always responds, which is nothing bothers the guy. He's pretty unflappable, and he understands the nature of these series. These series, it's quality opponents that are capable of executing a lot of different things. He's the centerpiece of game plans. They're doubling him about as aggressively as we've seen, and as consistently as we've seen. And he just continues to find a blend of his aggression, getting off it early, and empowering his teammates, and the way that he's played. Even in game 1, with the way that he's moving it out of there, that has some effect on their ability to go out there and play the way they did when he was in foul trouble. He deserves some credit for that, with the way that he's empowered the group despite his gravity, as a MVP caliber player. So, that's how I'd grade him out.
And what you see on the play with him and Reeves that led to his 4th foul and was upgraded?
There was a lot of, they were tangled up. And I thought it was a worthwhile challenge to try to go get it and get the first foul on Reeves. I don't know what they saw. I didn't hear the explanation, but that was my thinking on that.
You've talked before about the double teams with Shai, that, if teams are hell-bent about getting the ball out of his hands, there's nothing you can really do. But what can you sort of do after the ball's out of his hands to sort of get him reintegrated in a possession where it's not just he throws out of the double team, the ball keeps moving, and he's sort of isolated on the perimeter?
I think we've done a decent job of that in this series. Even last game, I'll look at it tonight, but we've had some plays where, we move it around. We try to explore a great shot. If we don't get one, it gets back to him in space, and the defense is less prepared and organized to go double him again. And even if they do, they may be less organized in the rotation. So it's just about maintaining the advantage if you don't find a great shot. I thought our attacks on the double teams were better tonight than they were in the first game. They were cleaner. I thought in the first half we got great threes out of it that we didn't make. We made more of them in the second half, but I thought the attacks were consistently, where we'd like them to be.
What did you think of Chet's game? Only a couple shots the first half, more aggressive second half. Points, rebounds.
Yeah, I thought he was unbelievable tonight. He's the ultimate winner anyways, but, he was the ultimate winner tonight. Shai goes out in the third. He was a huge part. He played almost the whole third quarter and was a huge part of that run. And then I thought his rebounding, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, his nose was in the fight down there. He went and got the ball. He had some timely ones offensively for us late. Showed off his skill with the shoot. There's nothing he can't do. And when the lights are on, he's at his best.
Yeah, Mark, you mentioned you amped up the defense there in the third quarter. What was going on in the second quarter? First 8-10 minutes, great defense, and then they hit you for 40-something points in 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, they got a nice confidence and flow to them. They were playing with really good force. They got us behind the ball, both in the actions, and then they got the ball ahead of us, which is a strength of their team. And just our resistance to that force wasn't where it needed to be, and we ended up, kind of leaking a little bit there. But it's a playoff series, it's a 48-minute game. There's 100 possessions, and there's multiple games, and you're not going to just win all the minutes, and so your ability to take punches and eat those punches is as important as your ability to throw them. And I thought we did a good job of just not letting the game get away from us, getting ourselves back on track, and playing all 48. But yeah, they got their shots in tonight for sure.